What's going on, everyone? So, when the Lakers signed Jaxson Hayes last offseason, I was really excited for Jaxson Hayes, right? Young, he's 23 years old. He actually just turned 24 on May 23rd. But at the time, he was 23 years old. Bit of a project, right? But a very promising young talent. A guy that you looked at and you went, man, like he's a guy that come in, have a little bit of an impact, nothing too crazy, right? Be your like third big man, but more so a development guy, really low risk, high reward type move. And then, the idea was that, okay, we're going to get another center to back up Anthony Davis. And we just didn't end up doing that, right? So Jaxson Hayes immediately had to be the primary backup. We did get Christian Wood, but he's more of a 4 than he is a 5. And it was just like we needed somebody else. Now, the big question is what's going to happen with Jaxson Hayes going into this offseason. Does he hop in, pick up his player option, stick around with the Lakers, or does he ultimately depart, go elsewhere? There is always the possibility he leaves and goes elsewhere. I think he sticks around, and I'm totally okay with it if that happens. Again, I like Jaxson Hayes. He's still very young. Like I said, he just turned 24 years old. He's a guy that has great athleticism, great foot speed. He's floor running big. He just needs to really learn and grasp the understanding of the game at a professional level, right? He's just out there, pure energy, hustle, and he's fun to watch, right? Because like he has these games, he has these moments, he has these little stints where you're just like, man, let's go Hayes, right? Because he's just this ball of energy at 7 feet, and he's got good athleticism, right? And a lot of people talk about like, oh, he could be our JaVale McGee type player, and I do think that's a good comparison, right? JaVale McGee isn't this like top center in the league or anything like that. He wasn't this guy that was perceived as like, oh man, like, he's top 5 big man or anything. No, he was looked at as like, hey, he's good athleticism, quality backup, right? Jaxson Hayes, I could see being that mold. I'm not saying he can't eventually develop into like a starting level big man. I absolutely think he has the tools and intangibles to do so. He's just got to learn to kind of hone and really get that grasp and understanding. He's got to get the discipline down, right? Like you look at him at times and you're like, oh wow, he could be a good defender, right? He's actually pretty good at the pick and roll, defending the pick and roll. He's not terrible as a help side defender. He's not great on the island one-on-one. But again, that to me comes with discipline because he has the length, he has the size, he has the verticality. He has all the tools, I believe, to be a very good defensive player. Now, it is very possible that he just becomes nothing more than just a little backup that you're playing 15 minutes a game. But they're fine, right? All teams need a backup big man. And if Jaxson Hayes can at least evolve and mold himself into that, that would be a home run in my opinion. But he also spoke very highly of Anthony Davis and spoke about how, basically he was a real mentor and somebody that he could, was looking up to and whatnot, right? And I think that is very good for Jaxson Hayes. And another reason why I think, A, he should stick around, and B, I do think Anthony Davis, being the role model that Jaxson Hayes described, I think is probably the best for Jaxson Hayes' career, right? Because there are very few people in the NBA and in the mold of a Anthony Davis. And particularly on the defense side of things, the way he sees the court, the way he's able to respond. And the beauty of Jaxson Hayes is, like I said, he has that athleticism, that foot speed, a lot of the tools and intangibles. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be Anthony Davis, particularly on the offense side of things, and even defensively. I mean, Anthony Davis is one of the greatest defensive big men throughout the history, right? I'm not saying the best. I'm saying he's one of, right? His versatility to defend out on the perimeter, defend pretty much every position on the court, I think is just very invaluable, right? So I do think Jaxson Hayes, if he was to stick around and kind of just glue himself to Anthony Davis, right? Like we saw what Rui Hachimura did with LeBron, right? Rui basically spent the whole offseason just glued to LeBron and picking his brain and going through his workouts and his routines. And we saw some real improvement in Rui this season. He was a disappointment in the playoffs, but during the regular season, he was actually very good and very impressive, even playing out of position. And so, to me, if I'm Jaxson Hayes, I'm doing something similar with Anthony Davis, right? I'm looking at him as my role model. I'm looking at him as a guy that can help me further my career, right? Like, and even if you do have, grander dreams of going and being a starter for another team or something like that, or being the primary big man for another team or anything like that, like that's fine. I mean, even then, you still, if you can spend another year or two just learning from AD, I think that is a good thing to have, right? And I do think Anthony Davis can kind of help him hone his craft and help him understand the angles and positioning, as well as just the discipline that he needs that is necessary. I mean, Jaxson Hayes last season was young enough to have been drafted in last year's draft. I mean, even this year's draft, the Lakers are working out Tyler Thomas, and he's 24. I mean, the Lakers are always looking at guys in the 22 to 24 range. So, I mean, Jaxson Hayes is a guy that could still potentially be drafted in the second round if he was in this year's draft. Like, so he's not, my point is he's not 27, 28, 29, 30, right? So you can spend another year or two just growing and developing Jaxson Hayes. And even if he just becomes nothing more than a JaVale McGee type, that's fine. Again, we need another center. I still don't think Jaxson Hayes should be our sole primary backup. So, to me, you still go get a Valanciunas, you still go get an Andre Drummond, you still go get a real quality big man that can start or be a backup along for Anthony Davis or alongside Anthony Davis. And now Jaxson Hayes is your third center in the line of centers, and you could even run the two bigs, right? Like you could even go at times with Jaxson Hayes and a Anthony Davis if you wanted to, or even like Jaxson Hayes and Valanciunas, because he can kind of step out, knock down the 15-footer. Like you could, depending on what your big men are, you can still look at Jaxson Hayes in spots, run him at the 4 at times, run him at the 5 at times, because he does have good size, good length, good speed, and again, if he can just kind of package it all together, I do think he could be a very quality big man and somebody that I like the idea. I liked it when we signed him. Just a guy that we could keep around for the next, several years and really have him grow under the Lakers banner and umbrella. Be a guy that come in and, like I said, even if he's not starting, right? If he could just come off the bench and give us, 10 points and 5 rebounds a game. Like that's solid. Right? I mean, look at like what guys like Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford are doing. And they're just essentially lob threats. Right? Like, so Jaxson Hayes could kind of be in that similar mold, in my opinion, that we could kind of shape and mold. But again, you still need to get a real, true starting level backup big man. Right? Valanciunas, Andre Drummond, whether maybe they trade for somebody, I don't know, whoever they end up landing. But Jaxson Hayes, I'd like to see him kind of stick around. Now, obviously, there are questions like if the Lakers draft a big man, does Jaxson Hayes go, what's the point of me sticking around? They got Colin Castleton, they got, whatever, Zach Edey. Right, I'm just forever going to be the third big man on the Lakers. Right, they already got their 2 development guys that they like. Then maybe he looks out or he dips out, and same thing with the Lakers. Like if let's say you do draft a Zach Edey or a Ware or something like that, like now are you really looking at Jaxson Hayes and going, okay, yeah, we got Castleton, we got Ware or Edey, and no, you're probably hoping he opts out at that point. But if because I do believe the Lakers trade the 17th pick. Say they trade the 17th pick, with the 55th pick, you end up drafting a wing or something, right? Jaxson Hayes, I don't hate the idea of having him again as our third big, that he's essentially the guy that we're growing and developing, him and Colin Castleton. And if one of them could be a backup and one of them could be your starter, I don't care which one, right? Let's say Colin Castleton, it just develops into the better starter, and he's just like, okay, here's your bona fide starter. Jaxson Hayes can be your basically JaVale McGee off the bench. I'm okay with that, right? I love his energy. I love his effort, right? He's 100 miles an hour, nonstop, game in and game out, high energy. If he can he just put it together, hone it in, kind of keep it contained, kind of know when to go and when not to go type thing. I think he's a guy that can last for a while. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? What are your thoughts? How do you feel? Do you like the idea of Jaxson Hayes sticking around long term? What did you think of his comments on Anthony Davis about being, basically a real role model for him? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. It helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.